Okay, now in this video we are going to discuss about very important concept, that is POC. POC stands for proof of concept. So in terms of UI automation project or any automation project, not specific to UI automation only, but let's say you have an application to automate, different test cases are there to automate, and now uh, you have been asked to choose a tool for it. Now let's assume that you are you have already finalized the tool for automating your other components test cases like web services, REST API. You have done the choices there. Now the thing is about choosing the tool for UI test cases, where the test cases execution of which requires you to interact with the UI of the application to run those test cases, right? So those UI test cases, for automating those UI test cases, now you need to choose a tool. Okay, so we are going to talk about POC of, I'll just be specific here, POC of UI automation tool and proof of concept. POC stands for proof of concept. So here we are going to discuss about what points to be considered while doing the POC of a tool. POC in automation project life cycle, the first phase, like for any new project, you are now going to start automating. So for any new project, the automation project life cycle starts with this phase, that is POC of a UI automation tool, or choosing a correct UI automation tool. To be very simple here in the term, it's a phase where you choose a right tool for your UI automation requirements. So what all requirements you should basically have, and against which requirements you should evaluate the tool. Basically POC, I'll give you one example of the real-time example, not related to the automation or anything. Let's say I want to buy a mobile, okay, and before I take a decision which to go for, I first decide on what kind of requirements I have, okay, like what kind of features I want in my mobile, what is the budget. Okay, let's say if I want to stick to a certain company, then who is the manufacturer of that mobile, like how is their maybe the service and all. So I first list down the requirements I have, okay, and then based on that requirement, what do? I then compare different mobiles from different manufacturers available in the market. So I just compare the features of those, and then I evaluate each product against the requirements as well as my budget, okay, which I have already jotted down. So I do here a study, in which study I just see, okay, which product is there in the market satisfying the requirements, most of my requirements, okay, which I am looking out of from my looking out to be satisfied by my future mobile, right? And the product which satisfies most of the requirements, I go for that. So what is this? This is nothing but the POC we are doing. So we are doing a POC of a mobile here, right, for our own personal use. Likewise, when you are required to do a POC of any UI automation tool, you should first decide on the requirements. Okay, so what kind of requirements, let's see, or what kind of points we should consider while choosing a tool. The first very important point, type of I'll say type of application interface. As the tool we are talking about here is a UI automation tool. So the UI automation tool, to run the test cases, they interact with the interface of our application, UI interface of our application. The way we do it, when we run the test manually, okay, we interact with the UI of our application. So let's take an example here. So let's say I have this calculator application to test. 2 plus 2, I want to test the addition functionality. As a manual tester, how would I interact with the application for this kind of a testing? If we decide to test it through a UI side, I'm not here talking about any backend testing, guys, not REST API or web service or anything. Let's stick to the interface here, right? For running the test, if I'm making use of the interface of my application, I'm interacting with the interface of my application. So we are doing a UI testing here. So I'll just click here 2 plus 2 equal to, and 4 I'm getting. So I'm just okay reading what is 4 here. Okay, I'm expecting 4, test case pass. So this is how the manual tester will do. Now if we decide to automate this test case using UI automation tool, so our UI automation tool does these operations on our behalf. So it interacts with the interface, UI interface of our application, hence it is called as UI automation tool, right? So before choosing a UI automation tool, we should know what kind of interface is this, which technology is used to design the interface of my application. Now there always is a problem, guys. Like I get a lot of calls from my students or from the people working in the test automation, and they calls me up and they say, okay, I have a Java application, can I use Selenium? I have a .NET application, can I use UFT? I have this application, can I use Test Complete? But let's understand, guys, a difference a bit here. Now when we talk about an application, any application, the application has major 2 parts. One is the interface, and one is the code runs in the backend as the components of the application. Now when we are talking about the UI automation, what is important here is to understand or to know the design technology. Now design technologies which are used for designing the application is different than the technology which is used to develop the business logic. Now let's take an example here. Now this 2 plus 2, 4. Now to add the 2 numbers, the function addition written as a logic of this application, that is written in, let's say, C# language, but the interface is designed using WPF. So here what is important is which language is used for, or which technology is used to design the interface of our application is important when it comes to the choice of a UI automation tool. So what is important? So don't ask questions like this, I have a C# application, I have a Java application. Be very specific. Which design technology is used to design the interface of your application? Now you can have a C# application, like the business logic is written in C#. This 2 plus 2, 4 is written in C#, whereas the interface is designed using WinForms. So WinForms is a interface design technology. WPF is an interface design technology. So there are 2 kinds of technologies available. The one part which deals with the interface design, and one part which deals with the business logic development. So what is important for us here is the technology used for interface designing and not the technology used for writing the business logic. So when you say I have a C# application, it indicates that C# is the language used to write your business logic of the app. But that is not important for us. The important for us is the interface design technology. So this is something you should be asking to your developer, like when you are into this POC, right? So you should ask your developer, okay, which interface design technology we are using? HTML, HTML5, Angular, React, Vue.js, or what? So he will tell you like which interface design technology. So knowing the interface design technology is very, very important than knowing the the business logic technology, right? So first is, so based on the technology used to design the interfaces of the app, there are three types of application based on the technology used for interface designing. Okay, so type of application interface, I'm mentioning it here as type of application interface. So there are three kinds of application interfaces: UI interfaces. I'll say type of application UI interface. So what are those? First is web interface app. Web interface app, where your interface of the app you run inside the browser. So your page of the application is written in technologies like HTML, HTML5, Angular, Vue. So these are the web technologies. Okay, so if your interface, or if your every form of your application, every page of your application, if every page is written in these kinds of web technologies, then you would be needing the browser to load that page or to see that interface, because these technologies, browsers have the engines to run these technologies, right, and render the UI of your application. So you would be needing to open these pages or these forms of your application inside the web browser, right? So web. Second, native interface. Native interface application means, now if you say example, so any website you can take, website, for example, any website. Okay, native interface. Native interface applications are those, the interface of which are designed using native interface design technologies like WinForms. So these are few native interface design technologies: WinForms, WPF, and many other like Win32 apps and all, right? Win32 libraries, Windows SDK. If we talk about mobiles, Android SDK, Android native apps, iOS SDK, iOS native apps, right? So these are all native interface application. And third is hybrid. Hybrid means simple combo of both, combination of web interface as well as native. So if we talk about the example of a native is Notepad, MS Word, then WhatsApp on Android and iOS. All are these native apps. Now hybrid is combination of both web interface as well as native interface. Now let's take an example here. Now if I am like, let's go and see the example. So I'll say HTML5, HTML file type. Input type file. Let's see here. I'll give you an example here. So my application, there is one button called choose file. Here, this is a button called choose file. Now this button is designed using a HTML tag. You can see here right? Choose file you will get somewhere here, right? Choose file. I can inspect it as well. Okay, let's inspect. I'll inspect it. So this button is this one, right? Here it is, this one, but this is a label, this is the button. Now this is designed using a HTML input. Now as a part of the test case, I want to click on this button. So here what kind of control I'm interacting with? A HTML or a web control, right? Web control. Now when I click on it, I get this file open dialog. Now this is not a web interface. This is a native interface. So if the end-to-end flow, end-to-end interaction with your application is not only limited to the web controls, and the interaction is not only limited to the native controls, you have to interact with both kinds of controls, then your application is an hybrid app. Okay, so if your application is an hybrid app where the few interactions would be on web, few would be on native, or if your application is pure native, there is no web control you interact with, then it is pure native app. If your interaction with your app is purely limited to the web controls, then your application is pure web. It's pure web application. So we need to know this, what kind of interaction, the end-to-end flows of our application, like whatever modules we interact with. So all those interactions, if they are only limited to the web controls, web interface, native, only native interface, and if it is combination, then web, right? So this is very important to know, because this decides, like, based on this, we are going to be deciding which kind of tool we want. Now, if your application is an hybrid app, then you need to go for certain tool which will allow you the interaction with the web as well as native there. If you are automating a pure native interface app, then you have to go for a tool which will support the native interface automation, and web, you will go for a tool supporting the web interface, right? So now next point, licensing cost, very important. Licensing preferences. Now you guys will say, okay, like currently everyone is looking for the free tools and all. No, it is not right. There are few organizations like banks and banking applications, or banks and all, so who are more concerned about the security and all. So they, like those organizations, they have a policy not to use any free tool. Okay, so it's wrong to assume that every organization wants a free tool. No, it's not like that. It depends. So there are a few organizations who only deal with, or who use only licensed applications. Now if we, let's say, if we want to choose a licensed application, then there are a few things we need to know about the licensing. So there are basically two kinds of tools. One is perpetual license. Perpetual license and subscription based. Perpetual license means what? You have to pay the licensing fee, okay, for that tool, and that tool is then yours. You have to just pay the company, or the the manufacturer of that tool. You have to pay only AMC, that is annual maintenance contract. Per year you have to pay them some money. So can you so that you can get their new releases as and when they add or they do the bug fixing, or they add some new features, they release a new version, you will get that, and that 24/7 support, right? So this is what the perpetual license, where the licensing fee, the real fee of the license, you pay only once to them. That is perpetual. Subscription, like there are many perpetual license tools like UFT, Test Complete. For mobile applications, Eggplant. This is mobile app automation tool. Subscription based, C-Test. A mobile application tool, but a subscription based tool. Now what is subscription based tool? Subscription based tools, there you need to renew their licenses every year by paying the same amount of fee. Let's say $1,500. So every year you have to renew the license by paying the same amount of fee. Now when you do not want to use it, let's say for any more now, then you can stop the subscription. But here in the perpetual license, you do not have that option. Once you have paid them the license fee, whether you use it or not, the tool is yours, but you have already paid the fees. There is no refund and anything is available there. Whereas the subscription based tool, you can continue using it for the time you want to use it, and once you are done with the project you are automating, then you can stop the subscription payment. That is subscription based. In the perpetual licensing, there are two more very important types of licenses. Node locked license and floating license. Node locked license. What is node lock? When you buy a node locked license, so that license, say I have installed it on my machine, so you have to install that license on a particular machine. So you get the license key created based on the hardware of your machine. You cannot just use it on any other machine. Let's say I left the organization and now my license is to be used for someone else who is joining my team in place of me, but he has been allotted a different machine, not my machine he is using. But he cannot make use of the license which I was using. Like we have to surrender that license to the website, right? Then we have to, like that other application, there we have to install that application. Install means what? You need to submit the hardware details of that machine. You will get the license key created, which is specifically created for that hardware information, and that license key you have to install on that machine. So that is node lock license. The license installed and created for a particular machine based on hardware details, right? That is what node lock. Floating means what? Floating means, let's say you have bought 10 licenses of any tool. Now you have to set up a license server in your company's environment. Let's say 10 licenses you will install there. Now any 10 machines from your company's network can use that license. So let's say you have that tool installed on 20 machines from your organization, but at a given point of time only 10 people can use it. If someone starts, after the 10 licenses are consumed, now if the 11th person starts the tool, then that instance of that person gets terminated. But any given, like let's say if I left the organization, so my the license is still there, still installed on that server, that information is with the server, 9 people are currently using now. Any new one, once he will get the access to the company's network, he will install the automation tool. His license would be, that license will not be installed on his machine or anything. That license, he has to just start the tool. Whether he can consume the license or not depends upon how many licenses are available on the floating server there. So that floating server actually checks, okay, the organization has bought 10 licenses of a given tool, so how many instances are running at a given point of time in that network, and then that is how the floating licenses work. So floating license, where a license server governs the use of licenses, right? And like these are all licensed tools. If we say these are all licensed tools. Now let's talk about free tools. Now there is a huge difference between free tools and open source tools. Free tools are tools which don't ask you to pay a money for them. Okay, free tools. But open source is different. Let's say Selenium is free as well as open source, whereas Visual Studio Community Edition is free, but it's not open source. You cannot just as a developer, you cannot contribute into the features of Visual Studio Community, right? Visual Studio Community Edition. You get it for free. They don't charge you, but they have not kept the source code of that Visual Studio on any open code repository. So free tools, like we have now, everybody knows about the free tools. They don't charge for their licenses. So example, Selenium. There are many examples now, APM and many others, etc. Okay. Now, when you will decide which tool you want to go for, apart from the costing, there is one more very important point to understand here, that when you use a licensed tool, if you get stuck somewhere, right? Let's say you are not able to understand how to use this particular feature. After even reading their help file, you are not able to understand. You can contact to their 24/7 team, and you can you can contact them, and they will help you out in using that, right? But in case of free tools, you do not have any such 24/7 dedicated support available. You have to rely on the user community in that case. So if you are choosing a free tool, a very important thing, that the point you will consider is user community. Very important in case of, very important, I'll just make it in a bold, very IMP, in case of free tools. So even if you want to go for the free tool, go for such tool, the user community of which is huge. So you can, you will get the answers to your queries or your problems, right? 4. Languages, scripting language. Now, when I was working with Windrunner, so Windrunner is a tool, which supports only a particular language, TSL, test script language. Okay, it's a custom language designed to be used with the Windrunner automation tool. So, few years back, there used to be tools which used to support only a customized language. Okay, custom language. So, custom language tools. Custom language tools. So custom language tools, I'll give you few examples. Now there are few out there. For example, like Windrunner is quite new tool. Nobody uses it, but it used to support a TSL language. Then Eggplant. Eggplant is a mobile automation tool supporting SenseTalk. SenseTalk is their language, like which they have designed, a custom language to be used with Eggplant. Custom language tools, and the tools which supports well-known programming languages. Supporting tools. Now, example like UFT. Now, UFT supports only one language, that is VBScript. But now there are tools which supports more than one languages. Like, so this is the tool which supports only a single language. Okay, I'll just separate it out from others. UFT VBScript. But there are now other tools now. TC, that is test complete. It supports multiple languages. Multiple language support tools. I'll just bifurcate these tools in multiple language supporting tools, right? So it supports C# script, JavaScript, C# script, JavaScript, etc. And Selenium, we know that Selenium supports many languages like Java, C#, Python, etc. Right? Now the challenge is, like, if you use, or if you choose rather, any custom language tool like say Windrunner or now Eggplant, let's say, then you need to learn this SenseTalk language. You won't, you might not have the knowledge about this language, because it is custom language only to be used with Eggplant. Now whenever you want to now hire the team, right, you want to hire the people, extend the team, then also it would be quite challenging for you to get someone who already knows the SenseTalk. So you have to arrange for the trainings and all, and in order to get that person workable in your team. So that is the main you can say the limitation of custom language tools. But if you choose tools from this category, like programming language which supports a programming language as their scripting language, like VBScript. So these are quite well-known languages. People, like, you will get the ready resource as well, knowing this language already, right? So this is very important. Fifth is hardware software requirements. So hardware software requirements, like many a times what happens, a tool doesn't charge you the money. The license of the tool doesn't charge you the money, but hardware software requirements of that tool, for them you may require to invest the money. For example, APM for iOS apps. Here APM doesn't charge you the money, but you need to have Mac machine, and you need to have the Mac machine, and then it was also a requirement to have a developer provisioning profile. It is not there now, but it used to be developer provisioning profile. Very important. Sixth is hardware software requirements. Then sixth is types of apps to automate, like only web or mobile or both, web, mobile, desktop. So accordingly you have to do your choice, right? And environments, OS environments to use to run scripts, like only Windows machines you would be using, or non-Windows, Windows, non-Windows, right? So these are very, very important points you will consider while doing the POC. And also, like, you may use any cloud services to run the tests, like BrowserStack or any other, like there are many, test object. So these are few points which we need to consider, and important points, few but very important points, while considering while doing the POC of any UI automation tool.